Are you serious?
All right, 7:11 now at News Talk 96.5 KPEL. If not, it's a really good story that I've never heard before, but good for you, Bert.
Ask him about it.
I never knew. Walking
45
encyclopedia.
It's about 3 years-ish, I believe.
Well, then it's been 50 years. You can learn a lot in 50 years.
Our panelists are here.
You can't.
Warren Cottle, Stafford Barnett. Apparently you can't. And Carol Ross. The earrings are fresh off, and you know what that means in any good street fight? It's about to get good.
My earrings off.
When the earrings come off, have y'all ever watched fight videos on YouTube?
Of
Come
course.
on.
My ears hurt.
Carol's like, no, actually, Rob, I've never watched fight videos on YouTube. I can assure you of that.
Live a little.
All right, so last night was a big presentation by the Bernhard Group, Next Gen Utilities System, the proposal that they made, 52 pages. It's published at kpel965.com. Lots of questions. The thing that stood out to me is what is coming out in this debate, as far as I'm concerned, is either current employees or former employees of LUS who are really taking offense to this group who wants to come in and operate it, saying how bad it is. Carol, we'll start with you. You have seen it. You've also seen the discussions. You've been in multiple presentations. We watched the one last night. What do you make of that? And do you think these former and current employees have a right to be a little bit perturbed by this assumption?
Well, let me start with the fact that I had a prior commitment and was not able to I knew I would not be able to watch it live, so I DVR'd it. And guess what? AOC was out just for the length of that meeting.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Because I also tried to DVR it.
You had to go online to watch it. Well, I couldn't get to a computer until just the very last few minutes, but I have some folks I'm hoping to get on the show this afternoon to discuss it. I'd have read the proposal of, the executive summary and the economist report. There are so many questions here about, part of it is smoke and mirrors. I mean, part of it is the unknowables, what you cannot know in the future, et cetera. And the fact that they're trying to say that our utility system has not been well run, that is offensive to a lot of people, especially when you get so much information coming in from a lot of different people. And I tell you, that does not sit well because we have had a professionally run utility system. Can there be improvements? Yes, there can. Were they denied some funding by the LPUA while this deal was being negotiated, unbeknownst to some people? Yeah, they were denied some funding to upgrade some facilities. So do not blame that on the utility system. That would be blamed on the governance. And I will tell you this, any council member who rubber stamps anything like this, that was, and I'm sorry, Mr. Boudreau, it was in secret for a long time until it came out. It was over a year that they were negotiating, and I got that from people who were inside the negotiation, that they were trying to keep it a secret. It was very difficult to do after a point, and that's why it finally came out. But it was not an open bidding process. It was one entity. By the way, they are venture capitalists. They do ventures to make capital, period.
The issue with competition and bidding is a big one, Stafford. You deal with every single day when you're talking about big jobs and different companies and different clients that you work for through your company. The Entergy news that they wanted to be involved in this dance yesterday.
Yeah. When
we asked Council Member Liz Webb-Hebert, who's the chair of LPUA, in the last hour, she said, I want to be very clear. There's no plans for a vote at this point. I don't see any reason why Entergy wouldn't be able to take whatever process they did with a bid and everything else. How does that change this?
So I feel like before we go any further, I should hug and high five Carol because this is probably the most we're ever going to agree on anything.
Let me get my camera ready.
Because look,
God, it's cold in here.
So a couple of years ago, the LUS came to the council or to the LPUA with a request for I think $246 million. It got shelved rather quickly, and I don't know this to be true. But it makes sense to me that was probably the time where Bernhard went, hey, instead of you going out and trying to get money from the people, how about we come in and do it ourselves? Everything that Bernhard proposed on paper is good ideas. Making our grid smarter, making our grid, putting some battery technology into the grid that seems to be working in other places, adding some solar to the mix, becoming more reliant on natural gas, less reliant on coal. All those are great ideas. And they're all ideas that we can do ourselves, right? What they're trying to do is they're trying to give us $140 million and pay off some of our debt in order for us to allow them to do it for us and for them to take the proceeds off of it instead of us. And so, look, I don't have a problem with their ideas. The Economist report, how that guy is teaching at LSU, I'll never know. Because he came in and he said, if you take $140 million, here are the 3 different investments that you could make to better improve your community. I don't know of a single governing body who had $140 million in the bank who said, I'm going to put it in 40 years worth of bonds and wait for it to turn to $1.4 billion. Yeah. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen put on paper in my life. And when I sat back and I looked at it, and one of the things that was pointed out pre-economics report in the executive report was they said, we're going to have a severe reduction in T&E, travel and entertainment. That blows my mind. That is pure political BS. It's riling people up to try to say LUS is spending your money on travel and entertainment. The travel and entertainment piece of their budget, I'd be surprised if it touched 1/100%. This, I told somebody today, I said, this was either written by somebody who is way smarter than me or way dumber than me. because if I would have seen a proposal like this turned into somebody, and it would have been one of my employees back when I was still managing people, I don't know that they'd still be working for me because it was done poorly. It was obvious what the goal of The Economist was, and I'm disappointed to see that Kenneth Boudreau, of all people, is out pushing this. And I'll tell you something. What you hit on, I'm sorry I'm going so long about this. You hit on the thing about Entergy, and this is very important. This is going to have to, if we're going to consider Bernhard, it's going to have to get opened up to everybody. Everybody deserves to get a shot. We can't just go Bernhard, who doesn't actually make any power right now, and in a previous life tanked a company by failing at building nuclear power plants, right? Everybody forgets that Shaw is considered one of the worst investments Chicago Bridge and Iron has ever made.
Well, they're about to go under.
And they're saying it's potentially because of the toxic assets purchased from Shaw, which was building nuclear power plants, right?
One quick point. The Entergy is not new to this dance because they were included in many of the meetings that, if you saw on the KATC website, those emails that went back and forth and all these meetings that were being set up, and by who, I don't know. Well, except Michaud and Robert and Picard were in there, and you could hardly tell whether they were representing LCG or Bernhard Capital Partners, who are their clients. They are lobbyists for them. But Philip May of Entergy was included in some of those meetings. So I'm not saying that they're late to the dance or whatever, but maybe they're figuring that they're seeing pushback on this, and they are deciding to get in on it. And I think there are several others. Weren't there representatives of multiple utility companies, or I think Coleco, Slimco, maybe representatives of others?
Why not multiple venture capitalists, right? Why not open it up to every venture capitalist group out there? The system's already in place. All they're doing is funneling money off of it. They're skimming off of the top at the expense of us.
According to knowledgeable people who've called my show, our system produces about $1 million a day.
Wow.
It's a good system.
Yes, it is. Okay. And it's well run.
The golden goose that lays the egg.
Exactly.
Mr. Cottle.
They do ventures to make capital.
We bring you into this conversation because of your quick wit, your history as a bull rider.
Stories, baby.
And you're ready for the rest of the story.
But, you know, the thing though about you is businesses, investment, the sale of businesses, how this works, okay? As Carol said, obviously they're in it to make money, number one. Number two, the other thing that just gives me this weird feeling, okay, almost like I peed on myself. It just gives me a weird feeling.
It's too early.
Just go with it.
Is when they said they would guarantee everyone's jobs. And I sit back and I say...
Ian, wasn't there an addition of 1,000 jobs as well?
Come on. It has to give you the same feeling, right?
Okay. First of all...
Okay, now watch your language. I'm going to preface it with watch your language. I've been up for hours already today. I don't want to have to break my fingers getting to that button.
But the comment that Rob made about having a liquid accident, it reminds me of a thing it said that working around here is like wetting your pants in a dark suit. Nobody seems to notice, but it gives you a warm feeling.
Okay.
Look, well, it was like doing a good job around here is what it was.
Okay.
All right, look, here's the first point I want to say. And I was listening to Miss Hebert when I was driving in, and although I do believe that she was sincere and I do believe that she was honest, But when you start talking about mergers and acquisitions, business buyouts, takeovers, whatever you want to call it, when somebody says nothing's going to change, quit listening. Don't believe the next word or anything else that comes out of their mouth, because it's going to happen. And that's the first thing that most people always do. Say, I want to set everybody to ease. Nothing's going to change. Everybody's going to have a job. Blah blah blah. And it never happens. You don't go out there and spend a couple $100 million or whatever to buy something if you don't expect changes in it. Now the deal about why do you want to outsource the management of the thing? I would say first of all, is the management of LUS so bad that they all need to be fired? That's really what we're talking about. So if they are, then
how's it done so well all these years?
You know, and could they do better? Probably. You know, not going to question that. But here's the big point that was brought up by somebody who sent an email who went there last night, and he said, what this all really, I think, comes down to, it is a good way for the Lafayette Consolidated Government to raise money without a vote of the people. So once they come in and this group comes in and takes over, then you have what they call plausible deniability. Then all at once, we need more money. You're sharing in the, quote, profits, the sales or whatever. So they say, well, we'll raise the utility rates, you know. Oh, okay, good. Then we got plausible deniability. We say, well, they have to do it. You know, here's the budget. Here's the pro formas, all this, that, and other. So, you know, the word smoke and mirrors have been brought up and all of that stuff. And, you know, does it pass the sniff test? And I would say absolutely not.
All right, let's go to Steph, and then we'll let Carol wrap it up for us.
I want to point out something that's very important. And I've been not a fan of what I call dark money going into our community for advertising, for political action, for that type of stuff. And I could name five instances right now in the past 2 years where I think that bad things have happened because of it. We haven't seen dark money until you start talking about what happens when power companies, utility companies, commodity companies in a state where there is no competition allowed go out and try to move a board or move the public one deal or another. It would be nothing for Cleco, Entergy, Bernhard, any of those guys to drop $10 million a company. They could drop $50 million into this market trying to move the needle, not to mention trying to move it in Baton Rouge, trying to move it here. We haven't seen money. And look, I firmly believe that this is 100% on the shoulders of Joel Robideau. He kept this down. He tried to keep it a secret, and it's blown up in his face, and it has the potential to cost him.
All right, Carol, wrap this one up. Then we need to get a break in, guys.
Well, first of all, they're promising lower utility rates for residential businesses. You own a business in Lafayette? Get ready. You think it's bad on the property taxes that you bear 68% of the burden? Get ready for what you're going to bear on this.
Quickly.
Yeah, what I want to say that everybody needs to do, go on YouTube, Google The Smartest Men in the Room. It's a documentary, the story of Enron. And when you watch that and watch how they manipulated the utilities, the energy, the natural gas sales, electricity, when they took over those companies in California, watch it.
Well,
watch it and believe it.
I hear it happened here in Louisiana when Entergy took over after Katrina.
7:25.
I haven't drilled down into the details on that, but that's what I keep hearing.
Winging It Wednesday continues after this, and guys, I don't know how to handle this with Warren and Carol and Stafford all be on the same page.
I'm sorry, I got to point out one more thing. That's a really great point. It just came out a year ago that Entergy was paying actors to show up to board meetings in New Orleans to get a push for a power plant. Like the level of what they're going. It is huge. Monopolistic business. There's no competition like there isn't in Texas. You can pick.
Oh, Texas, right? You have like 6 or 7 options.
They get the benefit of a monopoly while being a private entity. Oh boy!
All right, guys, we'll be back with more Winging It Wednesday coming up after this. Wednesday, October 10th, 2018.
right, I-49 southbound, just past the overpass at Gloria Switch, an 18-wheeler there involved in a traffic crash. That's I-49 southbound, just past the overpass at Gloria Switch. Watch out in that area. It's got things really tied up there. We have a reported traffic crash Landry Road at Tab Road. That's Landry at Tab. An earlier one, Moss Street at Castile. That's Moss Street at Castile. And Congress at Bertrand. Make sure you're buckling up and keeping it safe out there.
All right, 729, Winging It Wednesday, brought to you by LABI, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, and we continue now with the news yesterday that Nikki Haley, ambassador to the UN, is going to resign, another high-profile resignation. And as I talked about with Carol yesterday, you don't leave that high profile of a job where people love what you're doing. A lot of people think she's really strong. Even those who aren't necessarily pro-Trump people really like her. So, Stafford, what's next for Nikki Haley? A lot of people are saying she is the first female president that we will have.
Yeah, so people at one point, I think I heard this a year ago, said that she might be the primary challenger for Trump in 2020. She said that yesterday that's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. And frankly, I never had a problem with Nikki Haley. I think that she did a pretty decent job. I'm sad to see her go. I think that I think the fact that Trump came out and said that I would love for my daughter to go, but that would lead to claims of nepotism was pretty funny, because I think people have been screaming nepotism since 2016. We've got his daughter and his son-in-law working there, and Don Jr. Practically working for it as well. So I wish Nikki Haley the best. I think that she was great at what she did. And I'm kind of curious as to who's going to take her place. I hope it's somebody who's got the same integrity and work ethic that she does. Warren,
what do you think?
Yeah, speaking of nepotism, apparently the federal government took nepotism out of the rules decades ago.
Yeah.
But with Nikki Haley, here's what I think happens with Nikki Haley, is that she sits there, she's probably right now worth a couple of $1 million or more a year in the private sector. And that I read a thing yesterday that said that she and her husband have never made a lot of money. Their finances are not exactly that great. Somebody comes along there and says, we're going to make you a director, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And she goes to work for one of those big investment banking firms like Goldman Sachs or somebody, and she can make literally tens of millions of dollars a year. And then that way, whenever, if she wants to do something else, then I don't know why you'd want to get back in the government, once you've done that. But I think that's the real motivating factor.
Okay, Carol's next, and we'll go back to Stafford.
Well, she made it very clear. Actually, if you want to get a really great idea of why Nikki Haley was an absolutely superb UN ambassador, you watched that presentation yesterday afternoon, which he accorded her great respect for the reason that she deserves that respect. She went through, in about 3 minutes, she laid out the entire Trump foreign policy and why it was working and why she was delighted to be a part of it. But after 2 years of this intense pressure cooker and 8 years as governor, when she had storms and shootings and all that, and she's had 10 years of this high intensity. While she was governor, I believe her husband was deployed overseas in the military.
Yep, he was.
And so, she's had a lot on her shoulders. I think she's going out on a high note because she knows she wants to raise her children are probably at a vulnerable age. They're probably teenagers. They need their mom. And I think she is such a class act that she could come back at any time with her expertise as a governor, her expertise on the domestic stage as well as the international stage. She could come back and be a player on the national stage at any point in her life. And I hope she does. The world needs more grace, intelligence, and grit, just like Nikki Haley.
I want to add to what Warren said, because I only read it in one spot, so I'm hesitant to believe it when I only read it in one place, but it would lead some credence to what he said. Apparently, she's roughly $1 million in debt. So I don't know what that's from, and I don't know that it's negative debt or anything bad. The mortgage
is what I saw.
Yeah. So she's 100% got the opportunity to go sit on 5 or 6 boards right now and get paid by every single one of them and make great money.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. I do think that we saw something else, and that's the evolution of Donald Trump, okay? Because 2015 let's just say this, October 10th, 2015, Trump. If someone would have suggested Ivanka Trump for the UN, he would have said, absolutely, she's great, we're going to do it. He has seen how this changes. You look 2 years later or 3 years later now, he said, I think she would be great. However, they'd get me for nepotism, so we're not even going there.
Well, in 2015, he wasn't in the White House.
That's what I'm saying.
And
there's a lot learned.
Nikki Haley gave great props to Jared Kushner. She said people will never understand how critical a role he has played in foreign policy quietly behind the scenes. She really gave him a big, whatever. But one other thing I want to say, if you look on Twitter, there's some tweets and all that kind of stuff, and it's saying, together we've all missed her so much, #family.
Wow.
So I think that does have a lot to do with it.
Which makes me wonder I don't think that she's going to try to challenge Donald Trump in the primary. But if you're going to challenge Donald Trump in the primary, like if that's your actual goal, isn't there, what's a better solution than having him nominate Jared Kushner to be the UN ambassador, right? That's something that you could beat him up on, right? So I'm not saying that there was some politics there yesterday, but again, I think she's going to go make money in the private sector. I think that's the primary reason.
All right, quick roundabout. Who do you think will be her successor? Carol, we'll start with you.
I like Richard Grenell.
He's
the ambassador to Germany right now, and he was at the UN during Bush years. Yeah.
Yes. Warren, you told me in the hall earlier you hoped it was Kanye West. I'm just joking. You can give your real answer.
Only thing I will say is I think it will be a hard-nosed woman.
Okay.
There was mentioned earlier on a podcast I listened to earlier today. There's a woman who worked inside. I think she was the head of international affairs. I don't remember what it was.
Dina Powell is probably who you're talking
She's
about.
now executive at Goldman Sachs. That's one of the people.
Interestingly enough, if you want to believe in Easter eggs being hidden throughout society, the picture that Nikki Haley posted over the weekend was her and her husband, Dina Powell, and her husband spending the weekend together.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think this is a really interesting thing also, that they knew about 6 months ago that this was only she and Trump. And it never leaked.
I don't believe that at all.
Well,
I think so he came out yesterday and said that we talked about this 6 months ago, and that White House has leaked like a sieve. It's been bad.
Well, it could have been at the UN where there aren't any bugs and people listening.
Maybe other people around. Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, let's take a phone call to wrap up this segment. 232-1542. Good morning. You are the fourth panelist on Winging It Wednesday. Go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, I just have to say good riddance to Nikki Haley. She was a neocon, one of the neocons that they're in favor of war with every single country. And she butted heads with Trump several times while she was in that position. She even said that if there was another chemical attack in Syria, that it would automatically be blamed on Russia. And, wouldn't even look into it. They, just automatically blame it on Russia and Assad. And so, if you don't want to go into World War III, get rid of Nikki Haley. And I don't trust her.
I feel like that's exactly what we just said what she wasn't. But thank you for being the fourth panelist. We appreciate it. All of a sudden, we've eliminated that fourth panelist position. So we'll see.
Was he fired?
Oh, no.
Like Apprentice style?
No one was fired. You just got to get to the next
Jane,
one.
They'll call me this afternoon.
Okay, good. Well, we'll get the rest of it then. The Ross Report this afternoon at 2 o'clock on KPEL. Take a quick break here. We'll be back with more Winging It Wednesday after this. It's 7:37, excuse me. All right, 7:44. The sun is coming up, a little bit less clouds than yesterday, but we are probably going to have some rain this afternoon as well. So
I'm going to Stafford's house because he said he's making the gumbo tonight because it's going to be 61 degrees. And I just want to let you know because I'm kind of piggy. I also want you to make a fried turkey.
Oh my God!
Not too demanding.
I'm way better at smoking them than I am at frying them.
Can I? Well, that's what we've heard.
Don't go down that road.
Yeah.
Can we talk about why spiral ham and turkey? Why do we just do that at special occasions when it's so good? And every time I always say, why do we wait till Thanksgiving to have turkey? Turkey's good.
It's just
me.
As somebody with a big smoker,
yes.
Here's why. I love cooking brisket. right? But if I make it and I have 10 people over,
right,
I still have a week's worth of brisket.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
listen,
the same thing with turkey.
I
The
will
difference is with
always-
brisket. With brisket, though, you don't have to worry about like deadly
Right.
diseases growing in,
Right.
in the fridge.
Okay, I just want you to know, much like because I would never really be in a beauty contest. Oh, I know we're all shocked.
Oh, I think you will.
I will be your first runner-up for any and all turkeys,
Bring meat.
briskets,
Any clearance
cheddars.
turkey. She wants the clearance turkey.
That's what we do, by the way. That's so for every New Year's.
I will help you.
We go buy the biggest turkey you can get the day after Thanksgiving
Yes.
and throw it in the freezer and then cook it for New Year's.
I think that is a glorious, glorious
very-
thing.
It's really good,
And should
too.
you need someone to take over your duties as the smoked turkey king, and there's leftovers, I will happily help your family. I'm a big girl. I can consume a lot of turkey.
All right, I'll bring you a thigh.
Okay.
So,
Oh my God.
all right. So, yesterday was the last day to register to vote in person. Am I correct
Right.
about that, Ms.
And
Ross?
you still
Yes,
have
you are.
You still have 7 days, though, to register at govote.com. Now, the election's coming up on November 6th. And one of the things that I'm interested in is how there haven't been the attack ads yet. Now, there's a contention that maybe they'll just come at the last second. My thing, I feel like it's because why waste the money there? I mean, there are so many different things. In which time is the most exciting race to me a Secretary of State race? I mean, like that's boring stuff. That's like funeral director type stuff. But I'm saying it's so interesting because you have Kyle Ardoin, who's the interim. You have several other different people in it as well. Warren, we're going to start with you on this one.
About the negative ads?
Well, I'm just thinking, it's okay. So if you haven't had the ads, that
Right.
means you maybe don't have the eyes on it. Does that translate into people not caring about your election?
Well, I think what it translates into is that how much money do you want to spend on Secretary of State's race? You know, when
So how much money do you have to spend?
True.
when Mike Francis ran, you know, he had some considerable deep pockets to spend money on, and he did. And Jade Arden, of course, beat him. But with this race, I mean, I don't know, but I think negative ads have waned a lot. When we go back about whatever that was, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, when all the negative ads came flying out against about 4 different well, it wasn't that long ago. Scott Angel was another one, and the casualties were mostly those people who had the negative ads ran in their favor, and that they wound up losing it because I think it just turned so many people off today than what it used to.
Yeah. Carol, I thought it was interesting in watching the Florida coverage. We know that Andrew Gilliam, the Democratic challenger to Rick Scott, suspended his campaign because of the hurricane. Obviously, he's doing things for the state. The Democrats there were furious, though, that there were still being ads run against Gilliam, that they didn't pull those ads. And then a reporter, a friend of mine who's now in Panama City covering this, said, okay, at Florida Democrats, you're mad about it, but the first thing I saw was a Rick Scott an ad trashing Rick Scott in my hotel room. So let's just play by the same rules here. You've been around this block. You helped build the block, Carol, truthfully.
No, not me.
Look, are people going to use this hurricane for the race? Look how close we are now.
You know what? I don't care about Florida. I care about Louisiana.
All right, I'm going home. Bye.
What's going to happen is going to happen in Florida, and I fail to see that Gillum is going to be able to pull it out. I don't know, but it just seems unrealistic to me. We have a lot of different avenues, ways of reaching people now. So in the jungle primary that we have with all of these people in there, I think they're all looking at how they can try to shore up their base and get enough people to vote them into the runoff. Now, the runoff is going to be a whole different animal.
Will.
And that's where the long knives are going to come out in the runoff, I believe, when you have 2 clear-cut candidates. I mean, there are some candidates in there, I will tell you, I don't know where Julie Stokes thinks she's going to get her votes, but she's in there pushing, and she's got what she thinks is a base, but her own party in Jefferson Parish didn't endorse her. So, no, they didn't, as far as I recall, and she's not going to get any Democrat votes.
Do you think that the last minute here, this issue that was brought up yesterday, that Kyle Ardoin knew about the sexual harassment?
They're going to use that.
But does it gain traction
I
for
don't
an
know.
issue?
No, I don't think so, because even if he did, what could he have done about it? He worked for the guy who was doing the harassing. So he might have said something to him. Who knows what went on internally?
But you can't fire him. I mean, Kyle Ardwin, unless he filed an official complaint somewhere.
That's exactly right. He couldn't do anything about it at the time.
But could he call the governor's office and say, oh, hey, by the way, maybe somebody should investigate this?
Well, the Secretary of State is an independent office. I mean, it is an elective office, just like the governor. So it would be a little bit difficult for the governor to step in. Maybe they could have talked to, the Attorney General? I don't know.
The Inspector General? Don't we have a little Inspector General? I don't know. Does that issue even get traction?
Well, I don't know if it is, because it looks like Ardwan, just from name recognition, is way ahead from the last poll I saw. There's some very good candidates in there. Heather Cloud, she's really kind of an amazing candidate when you hear her story.
But then with her, it will come down to money.
And then there are two legislators, conservatives, who are really kind of carving up the same territory, which is A.G. Crow and Rick Edmonds. So it's going to be tough.
Stafford, what are you seeing? Not even 4 weeks away.
I see nothing. Look,
I know nothing.
Look,
here's Sergeant Schultz.
Here's the unfortunate reality about attack ads is that they work.
Yeah.
And the reason that everybody waits till the end to use them is because nobody wants to be the person on bottom at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate to bring this up. We've seen it work really well in Lafayette. Now, if you remember the mayor's race, it was Joel Roboto went negative on D, and they went back and forth. D tried to stay above it. And then Joel ended up winning the election, right? And he has a campaign manager and an advisor who's very good at going very negative. That being said, the Secretary of State position is something that I haven't paid a lot of attention to. It's something that I think more people would have name recognition if there was more negative things coming out. And one of the things that was pointed out by Bernie right then about the governor getting involved, it would be asking the governor to get involved would be the equivalent of asking somebody to get involved in the Brian Pope mess. The only people that could have removed that elected position was either a recall, just like Pope, which failed, or the judicial system. He would have had to have broken a law, which fortunately in both situations we found out that he did. So my guy, the only time I've cared about the Secretary of State race was when there was a guy named Tyson out of Baton Rouge, young black man who was a Democrat, who came in and said, "Hey, I kind of want to get Louisiana more inclusive on getting people registered to vote, and then getting our system of managing businesses into the new age." And I thought he was a great candidate. He had a D next to his name. Unfortunately, nobody knows who runs for Secretary of State, so when they walk in, they hit the button that suits them the most. And we are in our state. And so I think that's what's going to end up happening here. If Democrats can limit their consumption or limit their people going into the race, and Republicans put up 4, there will be a runoff, and then the Democrat will lose. So that's just what's going to end up happening.
Okay, I do want to end up. We just have about a minute left. Warren, do you want to wrap this topic up?
The only thing I'd say about the negative ads waiting to the last minute, there's sometimes that these people who dwell in gutter politics will wait to the last minute so you don't have time to respond when they come out with some really atrocious things, like that they'll come out there and say that this candidate's
and
a
is
pedophile.
That what you want for your community?
Yeah, let me tell you.
I think candidates need to, after the election, the media should do a better job of then asking the person who has been elected based on those negative ads, and shame on us as the media for not asking those candidates who have now been elected to office, is that how you wanted to win?
Well,
is that what you want for our community?
But I also think that they're not working as well as they used to. Used to be there was almost a sure thing.
Well, you didn't have Facebook. There's negativity everywhere you look.
All over the internet. And believe me, people should pay more attention to the Secretary of State.
Which is
really
why
crucial.
It has to be so. I mean, we've seen it. We saw it with the Kavanaugh stuff. It has to be so atrocious. I mean, just the back taxes not paid. I mean, there are little things that used to be the end. Okay, they used to be. Wait, you did that? You can't be here. Well, now it's like, well, I didn't murder anyone. All right, come on back. No one died. Come on back.
So it's funny. I literally just read this, and I think it holds true to so many things going on. But there's a principle called and I can't say the words, but the BS asymmetry principle. And what it states,
my gosh, it seems like it should be the flagship, theory of this show. But anyway,
what it states is that anytime somebody puts out anything false, it takes an order of magnitude. to refute it.
To write it back.
So if whatever is said, it's 10 times harder to refute it than it is to put it out. So
wow, that's
what
is it? The BS?
And yet again,
BS asymmetry pencil.
Look at Harry Reid saying Mitt Romney didn't pay any taxes. Well, it worked, didn't it? That's what they asked him afterwards.
Mitt Romney, by the way, was in a debate last night. Yeah.
It was a total lie, and he said.
But as Warren points out, maybe it is finally coming to a head where people are finally going to say, they're
pretty jaded. People are getting pretty jaded with all.
I was going to say they're going to go from
on the internet.
They're going from to not knowing to being an amateur political analyst to not caring again.
To not believing.
It's just
they're getting to a point where they don't believe anything.
All right, 7:55.
That's dangerous too.
Thanks to our friends at LABI, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, for bringing you Winging It Wednesday.
Oh, is this the end?
This is the end. Yes,
I
got 30
special.
seconds.
I haven't got to say anything about this, so I got to bring it up.
Okay,
Brian Pope, if you're listening, I hope you enjoy your couch time. Good riddance.
Okay.
Thank you.
You seemed very Batmanish with that, but okay. Thank
All
you.
right, real quick in the last 10 seconds, bring us some smoked meats.
Yeah, you got it.
Smoke
I will give you money.
I'll bring you some.
I will give you money, and you will smoke
It's getting
the
cooler,
meat.
which means I'll be cooking more.
7:56 now at News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Thanks, Batman.
You're welcome.